Greetings, YouTube. I'll be reviewing Batman and Philosophy. This was series editor William Irwin, edited by Mark D. White and Robert Arp. It says The Dark Night of the Soul. And there's a little blurb here in the front. This is from the Black Whale Philosophy and Pop Culture series. I was unaware that existed part of this book, but there's a little blurb that says this book has not been approved, licensed, or sponsored by any entity or person involved in creating or producing Batman, the comic, the film, or the TV series. So, I've spoken about Batman here on my channel before, and this book is using Batman as a lens for discussing philosophy. And it's an interesting turn of events. And one of the things that surprised me is the level of detail and information the authors in this, is all the different chapters and essays are by different people, how much information they had about Batman and the detail they went into. These people are comic book fans. Now, we all know that Bruce Wayne, as a child, I can't remember if he was 7 or 9 when his parents were killed, but something like that, made an oath to clean up crime in Gotham. Now, since he took that oath, the worst possible outcome for him, the worst possible way of him actually adhering to that oath would have been to do nothing. To grow up, become a CEO, be a playboy for a while, get married, have a few kids, probably 2, have a long string of mistresses, eventually have a messy divorce. You know, the Donald Trump arc. That would have been the worst outcome of him taking that oath as a child. Now, if he actively decided to work on that oath, if he actually decided he was going to put effort into that oath, the next worst thing he could do, short of doing nothing, would be becoming Batman. Batman is the absolutely worst thing he could have done to actually try to clean up crime in Gotham. Because Batman is useless as that. Batman fights the symptoms of crime, the criminals. He does not go after the causes of crime, which are poverty and ignorance. Now, he does charity work as Bruce Wayne, but he spends almost all his time being Batman. There's no denying the fact that Alfred Pennyworth, his butler, was his surrogate father. And Alfred was a horrible surrogate father because he did not get little Master Bruce Wayne into therapy. Years of it. Because if he had, Bruce Wayne would have become a functioning adult. And this book deals a whole lot with these problems. They talk about the fact that Alfred's loyalty to Bruce Wayne is different than Bruce Wayne's loyalty to his oath, and how that differs, how they have that different types of expressions of love and commitment to each other and to their causes. Very fascinating. They talk about, is Batman morally right to train a child to accompany him on crime fighting? And of course he isn't. It's child abuse. Is the Joker morally responsible for his acts? No, of course he isn't. He's insane. He's casually responsible because he committed them, but he is not morally responsible because he's bonkers. And they bring up real philosophy. They talk about real philosophers and existentialism. And this book gets very deep, but not so deep that a casual person coming at this from the pop culture angle of a comic fan is not going to be able to get into it. And the notes are extensive, and bless their hearts, the notes are at the end of every single chapter, which is the way notes should always be. That's how footnotes should always be. People that put footnotes in the back of the book are saying, we don't want you to look at these footnotes, so don't friggin' bother putting them in there. Unless they're readily available to the reader, don't put them in the book. Put them at the end of each chapter. Sorry, my pet peeves. But let's face it, Bruce Wayne could have done a whole lot more for Gotham than can Batman. For example, Bruce Wayne could open up 100 child care centers, each open 24 hours a day. Each would have 30 or 40 employees, and they could charge a citizen $10 for 10 hours of daycare. $10 a day. So for $50 a week, you could keep your kid in daycare. And that would free up so many parents and so much money to help them pull themselves out of poverty and into the middle class. He could spend $3 or $4 million for 1 or 2 years, ad campaign to get minimum wage in the state, wherever Gotham is. That's still up to debate. To bring the minimum wage $15 an hour. And he would just bribe enough state politicians. He's got the money. Doesn't matter what party affiliation they are. He just bribes enough of them. He bribes the governor. Of course, that's called campaign contributions, but they're bribes. He gets the law passed. Bingo. Everyone in the state, including the city of Gotham, now makes $15 an hour minimum. And that, again, lifts people out of poverty and into the middle class. He could make sure there was a foster homes to take kids off the street and give them housing, even if they couldn't find families. Okay? He could do so much. Homeless shelters, soup kitchens, GED programs, and all of it would be a drop in a bucket for a man who's a billionaire. And any of these acts, any of 100 acts, would help lower crime more than Batman ever would. But then he wouldn't get to go out in the night and punch his anger and his guilt and his survivor's remorse day after day after day. It's a good read. It's interesting. It's just deep enough to make you think, but not so deep it's going to confuse you. So definitely the whole idea of philosophy and pop culture, they've done a really good mix here. So I'm going to look into more of these books. See how many there are. I don't know if there's a little list somewhere in here. Is there actually one in here? Oh, here we go. South Park and philosophy. Metallica and philosophy. Family Guy and philosophy. The Daily Show and philosophy. That one I might enjoy. Lost in philosophy. 24 in philosophy. I wouldn't like that one. Battlestar Galactica in philosophy. Maybe. The Office in philosophy. House in philosophy. And Heroes in philosophy. I had a couple of these I'd be interested in. One thing I did note that there are a number of these philosophers that I don't like them a lot. Because they're actually arguing points that, no, some criminals deserve violence. No, no one deserves violence. I don't care who you are. No one deserves violence. That's a sick and twisted attitude. It's the reason there's violence in the world, thinking that some people deserve violence. It sounds like some redneck going, he deserved killing. He just needed it. No, that's not healthy. So some of these philosophers definitely, in my book, need to take some more philosophy courses and get some therapy. But it's a good book. It's an interesting read. It pulls you in. It kept me interested, coming back chapter after chapter, essay after essay. I wanted to keep reading because this is the kind of book I read at work. I didn't want to go back to my presses. I wanted to keep reading because it held my attention, and that's a sign of a good book that pulls me in, and I don't want to leave it. So definitely, if you are a comic book fan, if you are interested in philosophy into a shallow degree, and someone who's really into it, Cosmo Shadan, who's probably going to watch this video because it's got the word philosophy in the title, it would probably be something that he would find shallow, but the rest of us are going to find it interesting. So go out, find a copy, give it a read. I really and thoroughly enjoyed the book.